Hi everyone, and welcome to our masterclass today. Now, I don't know how you found this class, but I know why you're here. You're here because you want to learn how to reach your wildest goals with ease over and over and over and over and over again. And I love that line, over and over again, because you see, goal setting is a replicable art form. Once you learn it, the best part is you don't just hit one goal, but you can replicate that mindset shift, that action shift, that intuitive shift, and reach goal after goal after goal. It is one of the most powerful things you can learn, don't you agree? Which is why I'm so proud of you, and I'm sure you made an incredible decision today to show up for this class. Now, this class is going to be intense. If you have any familiarity with the way I teach on Mindvalley, you know that we are going to be moving at a rapid speed. There's going to be so much information. So first off, probably want to turn off your WhatsApp or your Facebook or any other form of distraction, because after all, what could be a better use of your time than to learn how to move towards your wildest dreams? So first, a little bit about me. My name is Vishen Lakhiani. I'm the founder of Mindvalley, which is the world's biggest personal growth company. And I've been obsessed with goal setting for almost 15 years. Let me tell you why I'm grateful you're here and why you should be giving yourself a pat on the back for actually showing up. This topic matters so much. If you think about the way we live now, odds are if you're here, you live in the type of society where we wake up and we spend 60 to 70% of our waking hours at work. Now, what are we doing at work? We're essentially pursuing goal after goal after goal after goal. Work, a 9 to 5, is nothing more than the relentless pursuit of goals, and not just goals that make a company better or the company you work for better or the product or service better, but there's a secondary outcome to these goals. It's to earn the recognition, the income, the money, so that other aspects of your life can get better. What you can afford, the home you live in, your ability to travel, to see the world. 70% of the very act of waking up is, in a way, in goal-chasing mode. Now, whether you think this is bad or this is good, the point is, most people never bother to optimize that 70%. And so the way they pursue goals is the same as what maybe they learned in high school. But what if we could optimize that act? What if the projects at work you could accomplish faster, the targets you could hit better? What if you see your career grow? Now, what happens then is that in every moment that you are working towards a goal, you are running faster, you're moving towards that goal faster and easier and more gracefully than ever before. And what this means is that in life, you start experiencing what often my students call magic. The crazy ideas, the wildest dreams that you once thought impossible just come to you with ease. Now, I've been obsessed with this field because I've been a researcher and a teacher of mindset. And the ultimate use of mindset is in moving towards our goals. My first book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, first shared some of these ideas. Now, this book came out in 2016, and it rapidly became the #1 book in Amazon. I don't mean the #1 book in personal growth. I mean the #1 book. For a brief while, I was the #2 author in the world. You can see from that screenshot, I even overtook Hillary Clinton or J.R.R. Tolkien for that particular week. Now, the reason for this, and I share this not to impress you, but to impress upon you how powerful these ideas were. People were telling their friends about the book, and briefly became the most popular book on Amazon. It's still a bestseller. Now, my second book came out about a year ago, The Buddha and the Badass. Now, something curious about this book I want you to pay attention to. Notice the subtitle. It says The Secret Spiritual Art of Succeeding at Work. Secret Spiritual Art. Yet, this book hit #1 on the Wall Street Journal. Now, it's unusual for a book on spirituality to hit #1 on the Wall Street Journal. If you look at that screenshot, it says hardcover business. The reason, again, is because the way we view the world is changing. It is now acceptable to speak about spirit in business. And so this is going to be one of the themes of our conversation today. I'm not going to talk to you like you are just a flesh and bone human being. I'm going to talk to you as if you are a soul inhabiting a human body. And I'm going to, hopefully, help you unlock some of these spiritual tools within you that can help you move towards your goal. The conversation has never been more timely. So, hitting goals is therefore the art of merging spirit and science. It is a combination of both. And the science has changed and transformed and developed a lot in the last 15 years. Yet most of us are using goal-setting methodologies that were derived in the 1950s. We're going to look at that too, and we're going to look at what we need to do to upgrade these methodologies and algorithms so that you don't carry any of the dead weight that's holding you back from your goals. Over the last 15 years, I went deep into studying what is the science and spiritual tools that are best thought to a human being so that we can move towards our goals. I worked in some crazy situations. This, for example, is a laboratory where scientists are measuring my brainwave states. We're testing out different forms of mental tools, from the Silva method to creative visualization, to see what generates the correlated brainwave patterns that you would see in a billionaire or in a monk. I also went to the Amazon rainforest to study with indigenous tribes, looking at things such as ayahuasca, altered states, dream control, and how can this be applied to moving towards goals. It was 15 years, 1,000 books digested, yes, 1,000 books. I'm a speed reader, and over 15 million students whose lives have been touched on Mindvalley. And my students, this is the thing I'm most proud of, and someday I hope to see you in this list. I want to share with you some crazy stories. First, Tony Gonzalez. If you are into American football, you know Tony Gonzalez. He's one of the top 100 footballers in America. He, about less than 2 years ago, in the New York Times, mentions that he's been practicing the 6-phase meditation, which is one of the goal-setting tools that I pioneered. Now, it's not just Tony. Today, my tools are used by professional athletes in every major sporting team. Now, this student, Camilla Hansen, she used some of the tools here to, she was a former Miss Sweden and an actress, she used it to start her entrepreneurial business, a CBD oil company. She's now like blowing up that business. And interestingly, she used it to heal her skin. And she talks about that in the interview I did with her on my Instagram. Reason I wanted to share it is because you will find that when you learn how to hit goals, you are also powerfully able to hit health goals, whether it's developing a fit body, reversing aging, or even healing skin. You will understand why these things are connected. Next, if you're a music fan, you've probably heard of Miguel. His songs like Remember to Forget, and his music has been featured in movies like Disney and Pixar's Coco. What an incredible movie. Now, Miguel in Billboard magazine mentioned that before getting on stage, he meditates with his entire team, around 30 people, to the 6-phase meditation, which is a core component of my goal-setting program. Now, these ideas are not just for individuals. Companies are stumbling upon these ideas as well. I feel blessed to have been invited to speak at the Malaysian government and train their workforce on this, at companies like Google, at the United Nations, at Facebook HQ. And so many of you are going to learn ideas here that you can immediately take back to your team. And I'll feel so blessed about this because I want to get these out to as many people as possible. I'm happy to be able to share these ideas with you. Now, again, I'm talking about this to impress upon you the value of these ideas, because if you're new to my work, I want to make sure you know what you're getting in store for. Now, a question to ask yourself. Is there a goal that you are really excited about, but you are not sure if you're going to get there? What is that missing piece from your life? I want you to write it down. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's that dream house you're saving up for. Maybe it's finding your soulmate. Maybe it is recovering from an illness. Now, again, it doesn't have to be something big. It could just be being able to find a job because you're going through some tough times right now. And just a word on that. I've been there. I've worked for $6 an hour as a dishwasher in Michigan. I've been near bankrupt twice. I've had to sleep on a friend's couch for months on end because I lost my company and all my savings. I've been there. And so, no disrespect to anyone who's going through some hard time. But the tool you learn to get to the next level, once you fine-tune that tool, you can repeat it over and over and over again for bigger and bigger and bigger goals. You will be amazed at just where you can be in 3 years once you start going into the deliberate practice and application of goal mastery. So, back to the question, what is that unattainable thing, that dream that you want in your life right now? Write it down. And it doesn't matter if you don't know how to get there, if you're unsure if you deserve it, write it down. We're going to reference this again throughout this training. And as I teach you techniques, I want you to apply these techniques to this dream, to this vision. What new insights have you gotten that maybe change the way you think about moving towards this goal? And what will that do in terms of you actually getting to the goal? Now, these ideas are important right now because the world is changing. I mean, we're going through a very disruptive time in history. And some people are getting significantly richer, but the vast majority of people are going through some tough times. I just read that the number of people in poverty doubled because of the pandemic. We need all the help we can get to go through this disruptive period in human history and come out shining. Now, why is it that goal setting, which should be at the core of our education system, doesn't really get most people to their goals? In fact, a study by Gallup showed that 87% of adults say they dislike their jobs. So think about it. Not only are we spending 60 to 70% of our waking hours on a job, chasing goals, but we dislike our job and we dislike the goals we're chasing. The world has gotten messed up in terms of goal setting. And part of it is because the SMART goal setting system from the 1950s is one of the more common ways in which we teach goals. I believe the system is absolutely rubbish. And one of the first things we're going to talk about in this class is why we need to dump SMART. Now, what you're going to learn instead is a new structure and format for goal setting. 7 principles, each at 3 different levels. And you're going to see how when you bring these 7 principles together, the most cutting-edge research on goal setting comes into your life. But these principles don't just look at science. As I hinted on earlier, they bring in spirit. You're going to look at how to get to level 1 for each of these, then level 2, then level 3. What I'm giving you here is a roadmap. A great spiritual teacher once told me, when you provide someone a roadmap, you create instant clarity and you give them greater power to move towards the person he or she desires to be. This roadmap is going to help you get there. Now, I get that it's complex. We'll break it down as much as we want, as much as we can in this masterclass. And those of you who want to go deep into it, you'll get an opportunity too. The results of going on this roadmap are so profound that my students call it bending reality. What they mean by this is that they find that reality seems to bend in their favor when they get to this state. And at that point, it's not just one goal that they hit. Everything in life starts to feel magical. Their health improves, their relationships improve, their career improves. They have enough money for anything they desire. And they truly live life in a way that is so different from the person they once were. I hope you too learn how to bend reality. So, you've probably created a bit of a fantasy right now on where your life might be if you could just crush every goal. Unbelievable should not even be an option. Now, I want to go into a new model for reaching your wildest goals. There are 4 steps to understand. The first is to avoid the dangers of the SMART model. The second is to understand the 7 pillars of reaching goals. The third is to understand the 3 levels of mastery. And fourth, to take the next step. We'll begin with the first part, which is the problem with the conventional approach, best summarized by the traditional 1950s model of the SMART goal, S-M-A-R-T. Let's demolish, devastate, completely destroy that model. So let's go into the problem with SMART goals and why SMART goals are, frankly, in my opinion, rather dumb. Now, this is the standard understanding of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. This is how most of us have been trained to pursue our goals. I'm going to show you all 5 and show you the counter thought. Now, as you listen to these 5 counter arguments or counter thoughts, think about what this new paradigm means for you, and think about how this new paradigm might shift the way you process and think about your goals right now. For many of you, just one or two of these paradigms could be the shift between where you are and your wildest dreams. But as you understand all of these paradigms, you get significantly more powerful towards attaining your goals. Now, we'll start with the first one, the issue with specific. They say make your goals specific. Now, here's the problem with specific. It does not allow you to welcome in the unknown. Now, I like to explain this with this story. Imagine you set a goal to get into Yale University. Now, I actually had this happen in a class of mine. A mother came to me with her daughter, and she said, Vishen, this class was amazing, but can you show us what exactly do we need to practice in our mental visualization model, the one that you were teaching us, so my daughter here could get into Yale? And I laughed and I said, by the way, just before I tell you, do you know I applied to Yale and I got rejected, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me? And the mother goes, no, really? What do you mean? And I go, well, firstly, setting a goal to get into Yale is a dumb goal. It's not a good goal. Doesn't mean that it's not a wonderful university or anything, but let me tell you why I believe you shouldn't set a goal to get to Yale. Now, I explained to this mother and her daughter that when I got rejected from Yale, I applied to one of my other choices and I got into the University of Michigan. Now, at the University of Michigan, and because of the friendships I met there, I met the man who would help me start Mindvalley, my company today. I met the woman who I would marry and whom I have two beautiful children with. If I had gotten into Yale, the company I'm in right now, which is my dream job, wouldn't exist. My children, Hayden and Eve, oh my God, where would they be? And so, what if I was never destined to get in Yale? I was destined to be at the University of Michigan. You see, Chinese philosophers and many great spiritual teachers I've spoken to and studied and practiced with say that this Western belief that your goals are purely the result of intention is false. Your life, rather, is partially intention, it's partially destiny, and it's partially the consciousness of the group that you're in or the environment that you're in. In Chinese philosophy, it's the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule. Now, we don't have to go deep into Chinese philosophy, but I think all of us understand that if we choose, we don't have full consciousness of what our future holds. What if that soulmate, what if that future business partner is destined to be at a university, which is your second or third choice? So what I explained to this mom and this daughter is, in certain situations and goal setting, you do not want to be specific. You want to rather, don't go into the specifics in terms of the name of the university or the man or woman you want to make fall in love with you, but rather you want to look at how you feel when you attain this. So I asked the daughter, what are the things that most matter to you in the university? And she said, well, beautiful surrounding, I want to fit in, I want to love my lessons, I want to make incredible friends, I want to be in a place where there's like really cute guys to date. And I said, great, are there other universities other than Yale that allow that? She said, yes. And I said, now, when you visualize, when you focus on your goal, see that expand, add another 10, 15 criteria, make that. And then when you finish, say this statement, let this or something better happen. Now, it's okay to say that you want to be in a top-tier university. It's okay to add a feeling to it. You can say, when I graduate, I want to know that my degree means something. All of that is legit, but you don't want to get too specific, because you never know how this might actually be taking you away from your destiny. So this is the key lesson on why specificity can sometimes hold you back. Now, the second thing is when you learn the sixth principle, which is intuition, you learn to tap into your intuitive ideas, into your intuitive mind, to create another form of guidance. We'll come to that in a bit. Now, the next is the issue with measurable. And this is measurable can really wreck your emotional state. How often have you been in a job and you have a certain target, and maybe you set the target a little bit too high for yourself, and you know you're not going to hit it? The funny thing is, as you fall further away from the target, you self-sabotage yourself. You see, science tells us that happiness is rocket fuel. Happiness increases productivity. It moves us towards our target. We've all read incredible books and studies on this, books such as The Happiness Advantage. But the danger here is that measurable messes with your happiness, because sometimes it is so hard to find the right measure. Now, the replacement technique is a simple one. Say this after me, MTO. MTO. It stands for minimum target outrageous. Now, here's how MTO works. This is beautiful for sales teams, for business targets. The T is the target. So let's say your goal is 1 million in sales, okay? For whatever company you work with, you have a team and you have to hit 1 million in sales. You keep that target as 1 million, but you set what is called a minimum target. Now, the minimum might be 700K. Here's the definition of minimum. As long as you hit the minimum, you are not allowed to feel sad. We'll come to that in a moment. Now, at the same time, in any team, there are people who are bold, who are like, 1 million, that's too slow. Like, I want to go bigger. I want to go bolder. And then the other people in the team who are like, for frick's sake, be realistic. This is how you reconcile everything. You set 3 numbers. Your target is the core business metric that, say, the accounting department or your CEO needs. Your minimum is the minimum bench that if you hit, you're not allowed to feel sad because you know you did decently well. And outrageous is if you want to aim for the sky. So the sales team might set a target of 1 million, an outrageous of 1.2, and a minimum of 700K. So I've actually had this happen to my team. When they didn't hit the target, but they hit the minimum, I assembled everyone together. I'm like, guys, okay, we didn't hit our target. We're all allowed to feel sad for 30 minutes. And then in 30 seconds. And then in 30 seconds, everyone gets to like bang the table and let out a cuss word. And then after 30 seconds, everybody goes back. We give each other a high five. And we now, in that positive state, set the goal for the next year, analyzing what we learned, what we can improve, and so on. You don't let yourself get down because emotions, as you'll soon see, are one of the most powerful elements of rocket fuel to get you to your goal. So the MTO technique, and to give credit where it's due, it comes from one of my many mentors, Raymond Aaron. He's a remarkable coach in Canada. The MTO technique is a powerful tool to use rather than simply going for measurable. Now, when you go deeper into my work, you'll understand the power of emotions, the 3 levels of emotions: self-fuel goals, unfuckwithability, and surrender. And you'll see why this is so important. Now let's go on to number 3, attainable. If a goal is attainable, how are you going to change the world? So this A in SMART, attainable, actually limits so many people from their true potential. Now, what is the alternative? It's something called the 50-50 rule. I learned this from Larry Page, the founder of Google. So the 50-50 rule says this: 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failure. Now I know what you're going, what? 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failure. Now here's what it means. Let's say you're setting goals for your company because you're an entrepreneur, right? Or you work for a company and you're setting goals for your team or for your individual objectives and key results. You have 4 goals. Half of them should be a coin flip. That means for at least 2 of the 4, you have a 50% chance of failure. Now, this means that at the end of the month or the end of the year, should you be hitting all 4 goals? If you are, says Larry Page, you haven't thought big enough. The reality, says, according to Google philosophy, is that you should be hitting 70 to 80% of your goals. You should be failing at 1. What? Says more people. This is so counterintuitive, but this is why Google is one of the top companies in the world. Now, Google's actual failure rate, if you look into the many books on Google culture, there's a book called In the Plex. Google's actual failure rate is 40%. They fail at 40% of their projects. Remember Google Glass? Most people don't because it failed. Google Buzz failed. Google Social Network failed. But when they do succeed, they change the world. And they've become one of the most best, top performing stocks in the stock market. This is the 50-50 rule. Any entrepreneur can bring this in. When I brought this into my company, it changed the way we operate as our team. We aim to hit 70 to 80% of our goals. Now, you don't just apply this to teams, you can apply this to yourself. The 50-50 rule gives you permission to fail. It also gives you permission, therefore, to think boldly. So remember this, 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failure. Look at your goal list when you're done with this class and ask yourself, how many of these do I think are 50% failure goals? And half of them should be there. You will learn more about this when you go deeper into the principle of vision. Okay? Now let's go on to relevant, R. The issue with relevant is much of your values were implanted in you without your choice. Let me repeat that. There are many different studies in human beliefs, in human behavior. And one of the most interesting is that often what we think is relevant to us is actually implanted in us. Let me give you an example. There are so many people who choose to become lawyers because when you graduate with a law degree in America, you have one of the highest starting salaries, around $75K. So a lot of American graduates go into law. I went to an American university, and I can tell you so many of my friends were brilliant people, aspired to become lawyers. But something really interesting happened after they hit that goal. Many of them would drop out of law school. They would quit being a lawyer. They hated their job. Turns out there's science backing this. 50% of lawyers, even in countries like Australia, suffer from clinical depression. It's a bad industry to be in if you value your happiness. Yet so many people go into it. Why? Because they were, for lack of a better word, brainwashed through media, through television, through well-meaning parents to believe that law is glamorous. As a result, lawyers have a 50% rate of depression. Yet in America, you have 5% of the world's population and 70% of the world's lawyers. Now, I'm not picking on lawyers. I have many relatives who are lawyers, but I share this example because it's a powerful example on how we end up chasing massive goals, steering our entire life in a different direction, only to find that we're not happy where we end up. Now, to eliminate this, you have to understand a concept called rules. A rule is a bullshit rule. I coined this word in my first book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Rules are rules that we make up to simplify a complex world. Now, many of the rules that are passed down from generation, from society, from our parents, from our religion, have a valid purpose, but many of them are bullshit rules. Now, in these 7 principles, one of the first things you do is you learn to break the rules or the rules. You go into a concept called identity shifting, and then you learn how to go into iconic status. More on that later. Now let's come on to the T in SMART, time-based. Problem with time-based is this: it doesn't account for spirit, for soul, for the magic that we all have between us. Time-based goals basically get people to look at where you are, look at the goal, and then go, okay, based on what I know and how I know how to get there, this is where my goal should be. But in reality, true masters don't do that. True masters go beyond what they can see the direction for, beyond how they know how to get, because they know that there's a force within them, intuition, spirit, that's going to help them discover the way. You know, there's that movie 15 years ago, The Secret, that became one of the best-selling DVDs ever. And many people criticized it because it spoke about thoughts attracting your reality, but it was really shallow. It was like kindergarten personal growth. But there was one very interesting thing in that movie. And that interesting comment was this: sometimes you don't need to know the how. You simply need to know the what and the why. And this is where time-based as a model holds us back. You don't need to know the how. You need to know the what and the why. Often when we know the what and the why, the how emerges, whether it's our brain's reticular activating system, the goal-setting mechanism in the brain, or tapping into our subconscious or intuition. We can't fully explain it, but the how often comes to us. And this is why time-based goals kind of suck. Let's do a quick recap, okay? So the first thing is, let this or something better happen. What this means is that aim for the feelings of the goal, not the specific goal, but the feelings that you get, the feelings that you truly want. And end with, let this or something better happen. Number 2, MTO, minimum target outrageous. Number 3, the 50-50 rule. 50% of your goal should have a 50% chance of failure. Number 4, question the rules, the bullshit rules of convention, to make sure that you're really pursuing what's coming from your heart. Remember the quote: tradition is nothing more than peer pressure from dead people. And number 4, embrace the power of spirit and mastery. Know that there is a spirit within you that will find ways, synchronicities, insights, intuition to help you get to your goals. Let's go on to the next. So we finished step 1, avoiding the dangers of the SMART model, and I've given you 5 alternatives. Did that help? Did you gain an insight, an idea, a further clarity on what you need to do next to hit your goals? We're just getting started, folks. The next step is to understand the 7 pillars of reaching goals. This is the new model of goals. So this is the grand roadmap of everything that goes into my work when I help high-performing individuals hit their goals. Keep in mind, this is a roadmap. Often when I work with people, it's a 30-day process. But what I'm going to do is to give you the overview of what are the 7 principles and the levels. Now, the first one is questioning. Questioning is where you learn a process to break free from any rule that's holding you back. Often, we don't even know that what we think we want is actually placed into us. But when you learn to break that, something beautiful happens. Now, there are 3 levels to questioning. The next level is identity shifting. Identity shifting comes from the theory of habits. It shows that when you shift your identity, your progress towards a goal shifts. So, for example, if you truly, genuinely believe that you are a billionaire, you're more likely to be a billionaire. If you truly, genuinely believe that you have the fit, muscular body of an athlete, you're more likely to never miss a gym workout. But how can we implant these beliefs in our head? Turns out there's a subconscious programming technique that allows you to program your subconscious like you program your VCR. And new identities change your behavior. You automatically start taking on the behavior towards your goals. I'm sure you've read about the power of belief. What we believe to be true about the world often becomes true. Now, as you go into level 3, you go into what is called iconic status. Iconic status is beautiful. Iconic status is, it's these people. If you get on Google and you type in iconic people, you will see names like this: Michael Jordan, Jon Stewart, Audrey Hepburn. Those were people who challenged the status quo. They became icons for new visions, new models of how human beings could show up in the world. Now, the next thing that you do after you strip away any of the rules holding you back is vision. But a word on those rules, right? It's important to break the rules. Often, when somebody says, well, you can't do that, or how are people going to respect you if you go into that field? Or you're going to so disappoint your parents. What they're really saying is, look at me, my chains are bigger. So never let anyone else decide your future for you. Your soul, your heart, when you learn to tap into that magic, knows best. Only when you do that, you start crafting your vision, because now your vision is aligned with your direction. Breaking the rules, questioning the rules of the status quo give you direction. One of the key concepts that goal-setting pioneer Jose Silva taught me is that you got to first nail the compass before you rocket. Most people rocket in the wrong direction. Compass first, then rocket. This is where we come to vision. Now, in vision, to really, really nail the compass, we start with a model called the 3 most important questions. I'll go a little bit deeper into that. Then you develop a 3-year plan. Then you go into what is called visionary mode. Visionary mode is interesting. We'll come to that. This is a diagram for one of my books. It shows how the culturescape, the collective body of rules, of cultures, kind of guides us and tells us who to be and how to show up and what to do. But every now and then, there's someone who breaks away from the masses. At first, they are called the misfit, the rebel, the troublemaker. And their ideas might seem crazy. But then, what they literally do is they extend the culturescape. They create, for lack of a better word, a dent in the universe. And that's when we label them visionary. Can you think of visionaries? There was a time when people thought we would never be able to go off fossil-fueled automobiles. Some dude called Elon Musk put a dent in the universe. And as I'm recording this, General Motors in America just announced that by 2035, they're going to shift completely to electric cars. There have been so many examples of people, from Walt Disney to J.K. Rowling, who came up with the Harry Potter book series, who change the established norms of the world by becoming visionary. And who knows, there might be a visionary in you waiting to put a dent in the universe. Now, first step, okay, is this concept called the 3MIQ. Now, this is a goal-setting methodology that many of my students do. It happens really quickly. It happens in the span of about an hour, but you take a piece of column and you write down experiences, growth, contribution. Now, again, I'm giving you a very rapid overview, but the results people get from going through this guided session is transformative. This is Ronan. Ronan joined my company, and all of my hundreds of employees go through this. And Ronan had put down that in his experiences, he wanted to speak in a TED Talk, have a healthy, strong, ripped body, inspire people to follow their dreams. Now notice, so much of his experiences are feelings, right? Do you remember what I said in the early part of this conversation? Specificity is bunk. Rather aim for feelings. Ronan's goals are rightly somewhat loose. There are lots of feeling-related goals. For example, become a hero. Now, look at growth. Have a super effective mind, focus on doing the right thing, broad knowledge about healthy and bodybuilding nutrition, and then contribution, having a career, inspiring people. Now, when Ronan joined my company, he was just a scrawny kid. He had a brilliant mind, but his 3M IQ shifted something in his head. As he started writing down and discovering who he really was and his passion for sports and fitness and inspiring people, he ended up taking part in the Viper Challenge. Out of 20,000 competitors, Ronan became number one. Now, the story doesn't end there. If you look at his face, and if you remember the word Ronan Diego, his name sounds familiar. Ronan, just a few months back, after 6 years from writing down that 3M IQ, became so proficient in health and nutrition. He co-founded the 10X company. I invested in the company. Ronan and 10X are now Mindvalley's official muscle building program. It's all included in a Mindvalley membership. He is now a legendary teacher on Mindvalley. He never has to worry about a job for a day in his life because he has now reached icon status. And Ronan's class on 10X just had 10,000 people join on Mindvalley. But it all started with this sheet of paper, experiences, growth, contribution. Now you can do this too. Those of you who go deeper with me, I'm going to guide you through this entire process. But this is what I mean by magic happens when we converge our deepest, most innermost desires onto paper. Remember what I said about Chinese philosophy? 1/3 of your goals are destiny. 1/3 is intention. 1/3 is the consciousness and the energy around you. You can curate all three to magnify your movement towards your goals. Now, if you want to go deeper, I'm just going to put up this slide. We won't have time to go into it, but this is how you break down experiences, growth, and contribution into further subcategories. Let's park this aside. Let's go to number 3, emotions. Now, emotions is where we talk about self-fueled goals, unfuckwithability, and surrender. Now, I'll tell you why emotions are important. Read this poem. I was early taught to work as well as play. My life has been one long, happy holiday, full of work, full of play. I dropped the worry on the way, and God was good to me every day. Does this guy sound intense? Does this guy sound happy? Does this guy sound like, like the type of character you'd see in a Disney film? That's kind of what the impression I get. Happy, joyful, he's not worried about anything, feels blessed by God, early taught to work as well as play. Well, this dude was a total frickin' badass. This was John D. Rockefeller. He wrote that poem at 86. John D. Rockefeller was the richest man in the world by far 100 years ago. But notice, he talks about the convergence of work and play, dropping the worry along the way. John knew something that a lot of people today have forgotten. Your emotions, your happiness levels help you hit your goals. They help John become the richest man in the world. Now, in my work, there's this diagram that I share. Okay, there are two things, two feelings in ourselves that we are constantly juggling as human beings. Vision for the future, happiness in now. Most people tie their happiness to their vision of the future. I will be happy when I get that promotion, when I get that job. Bullshit. Happiness needs to be now. Happiness will fuel your movement towards your vision. In other words, your happiness cannot be attached to your goal. Your happiness helps you get there. Now, based on these two pillars, you can fall in any of these states. You have no vision, no happiness. You're in what is called a negative spiral, depressed, and life keeps getting worse. That's a dangerous state to be in. If you just have happiness but no goal, you're in what is called the current reality trap. I mean, you may be happy, but how are you contributing to the world? How are you contributing to yourself? You may not be fulfilled. Anybody can get happy smoking a joint, right? But it's not the way to live. You need happiness and vision. Now, if you just have vision, you fall into the bucket called stress and anxiety. You have this vision pulling you forward, but you're frustrated, you're stressed out. But if you can combine both, you're in the state called bending reality. And that's where you want to be. Now, you remember this dude? Richard Branson. So in my work, in my interviews, I got to spend about 3 to 4 hours one-on-one with Branson. I did 3 trips to Necker Island, his private island, over the last decade. And in that time, we got to spend about 4 hours quality time, and I got to ask him some interesting questions. And I remember in one of these meetings, somebody asked him, how do you do what you do? And he said 2 things. I make lots of lists. The second question was this. Somebody asked him, what do you do about the bad moments in your life? And he said, I never really remember the bad times. I only remember the good times in my life. Now notice that. Lots of lists that represents vision. I never remember the bad moments. I only remember the good moments. It represents happiness. If you know anything about Branson, he is always happy, always beaming. When you hang out with him on Necker Island, like after dinner, it's time for a costume party. There we are dressed as pirates. And that's just the way this man rolls. Yet he employs 50,000 people, started the Virgin Group, and has just done some spectacular things in life. A true legend. This is why emotions matter. Now, there are 3 levels to emotions. Self-fuel goals, which are goals that actually nurture positive emotions today. Unfuckwithability, which is where you become immune to failure. This is the convergence of grit and absolute self-love. And the third is surrender. The third is where you're not even attached to your goal. You have the goal, but you trust that whatever is right will come to you at the right time. And as you move towards this goal, it seems that you are blessed. Surrender has become a huge topic in modern spiritual growth after the book, The Surrender Experiment, about a guy who built $1 billion company by accident while meditating in Virginia or Georgia. I forget where it was. But surrender is a powerful tool to learn, but not many people learn it. Even in this book, The Surrender Experiment, it's kind of a memoir, but you don't really learn how. In my teachings, I teach you how. I work with several spiritual teachers to converge all of the concepts that come from surrender. And when you understand that, you understand why. In Zen philosophy, they say, do not get attached to anything. It doesn't mean don't have goals. It means don't get attached to them. Now let's go on to self-mastery, okay? This is the 4th pillar. So self-mastery has 3 aspects to it: learning, growth as a goal, and resonance. Now, we're going to talk about all 3. Learning is easy. It means you are developing a model, a routine of showing up in life where you're constantly learning. Growth as a goal is a little bit deeper. It's moving into the belief structure that the number one most important thing in your life is your rose, or your rate of self-evolution. But the final one, the law of resonance, is where the magic happened. Do you remember that man? If you watch the movie The Secret, you'll recognize him, Reverend Michael Beckwith. We were having breakfast together in Portugal. As I told you, I traveled across the world seeking out these teachers for the last 15 years, assembling their knowledge. And I asked Beckwith, knowing everything you know now, it's now been 15 years since The Secret. This was taken in 2019 in April. What would you change? And he said, well, I would stop talking about the law of attraction. There is no law of attraction. Rather, the more important law is this. It is the law of resonance. And I said, do tell me. And he goes, the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. And this led to a deep conversation with Michael on how we can change who we are, and then the world changes to reflect that. That is the law of resonance. You want to be in the most incredible love relationships. You don't attract that. You change who you are. You want to build $1 billion company. You change who you are, and the universe bends to you. The law of resonance is subtle. It's powerful. But this is the trick. This is the great potential that is unleashed in us when we learn how to get there. Now, again, we won't have space in this masterclass to go deep into the law of resonance, but by giving you a map, I'm hoping to show you what is possible. Now, the next thing is flow. You've probably heard about flow. It's become a catch-all phrase. Sometimes the words used are in the zone or mojo. So flow has 3 levels. Ordinary flow, which is where you are so immersed in your work, in the action towards your goal, that time seems to have no meaning, and you're making incredible progress. But the next level is organized action. Organized action is basically where you are so superbly organized in your movement towards your goals that you just accelerate. And the level 3 is inspired action. This is where not only are you organized, not only are you in flow, but it's as if something is speaking to you, pointing you in the right direction. Studies in intuition show that it can improve accuracy. If you have 4 choices, intuition can improve accuracy from 25% to 33%, which means if you have 4 possible paths, it can eliminate 1. It's not going to get you 100%, but it can go from 25 to 33. That is huge. That is significant. That study was, by the way, is done at the University of Edinburgh. Number 6 is intuition. Intuition starts with feelings as goals. Your feelings are guiding you. Then there's intuition. Then there's channeling. Channeling is where you literally can meditate. So I sometimes wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I feel compelled to wake up. It's not even my alarm clock. I know I have to meditate, and then the business problem I'm trying to solve comes to me in 5 minutes. I just solved the data architecture problem for my engineering team in this process. All of us can learn this. Napoleon Hill said, "A genius is a man who has discovered how to increase the intensity of thought to a point where he can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available through ordinary rate of thought." This is what you can learn too. Now, for those of you who are skeptical, I want to share this example. There's a famous CEO that we all know of, and when they wrote his biography, this is what his writer said. Throughout his life, he would seek to follow basic precepts of Eastern religions, such as the emphasis on prana, wisdom, or cognitive understanding that is intuitively experienced through concentration of the mind. The CEO, throughout his life, trusted his intuition, and he was Steve Jobs. That quote is from his biography, released shortly after he died. Now, Jobs famously said this line too: "Your mind slows down, and you see a tremendous expanse in the moment. You see so much more than you could see before. It's a discipline. You have to practice it." He is talking about intuition. In his Stanford commencement address, he said this: "Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." Great visionaries, people who are hitting goals, they are developing new models of the world, new pathways to get there beyond rational thought. This is why Jobs was described not just as a genius, but a magician genius in his book by Walter Isaacson, his biographer, because his leaps of the imagination seem to come from outside conventional thought. Now, there's a lot of study on this one. There's a famous book called Executive ESP. It's currently out of print, but it's based on the study by Dr. John Michalowski at Newark College of Engineering. He tested CEOs on intuition, and he found that CEOs who score high on intuition tests also have the highest correlation with profit increase in their company. Really powerful evidence that intuition is real and it's guiding us. And this brings us to number 7, spirit. This is my favorite. It's also the part where it turns some people off, but I ask you to keep an open mind. A lot of things that we once considered woo-woo are being validated by science. As Nassim Haramein said, spirituality is nothing more than physics we have yet to find an equation for. And I firmly come to believe that a lot of the most powerful tools for getting to your goals include the activation of spirit. So let's go deeper into this. Now, the next thing is under spirit, there are 3 levels: positive optimism, creative visualization, and merging. Merging is the really mysterious one. So positive optimism is basically the act of being in bliss and the act of being able to bounce back from adversity. It doesn't mean shit doesn't hit the fan. It doesn't mean that negative thoughts don't enter your mind, but it means you know, like a master, how to dance with these thoughts and move back to an attitude where you know the future is going to be okay. Positive optimism doesn't push away sadness. It embraces it, it experiences it, and then it moves back to your natural identity as a soul having a human experience. I know that's profound, but like I said, I'm trying to unwrap everything for you and give you an overview. People who go into my program typically will go deeper into this. Number 2 is creative visualization. This is really big. Remember this story? One of my students, Bianca Andrescu, practiced creative visualization. She was a student of the Be Extraordinary program. She attended the seminar. It was in Toronto, where she lives, and started applying creative visualization to her big goal, which was to win the US Open. She beat Serena Williams at the age of 19 and won the US Open. That is a massive, massive, massive achievement. You will find an interview with her on my Instagram. But, it's not just Bianca. Matthew Russell, he's one of the DJs at this killer band called the Cheat Codes. So they were performing at this massive festival in Croatia, and they heard that I was giving a talk in Croatia, and through a mutual friend, Matthew sent me this. He started 7 years ago, he started using one of my early goal-setting techniques. And notice what he said before this project even started, where he was playing at this massive, massive, massive event called Ultra Europe, tens of thousands of people. He said, I was meditating and visualizing what I want, and now I'm playing on the main stage of Ultra Europe, partially because of you. Thank you, bro. We appreciate you. Can't wait to do more of your programs. Google the Cheat Codes, or find them on Spotify. Amazing group. Now, Matthew Russell and Bianca, still, they were using an early version of the technology I developed. Merging is the advanced version. In merging, you don't even practice creative visualization. You create a new ripple in the fabric of reality by going into delta brainwave frequency, and then you give life to this entity. And then you cast it out to start creating the synchronicities necessary to move you towards your goal. It only works if you use it for good, and if whatever you're looking to bring forth is in the best interest of collective humanity. I'm just going to say that, because if I go deeper into it without giving context, it's going to it's gonna raise a lot of eyebrows, which is why merging in my Be Extraordinary 30-day program, this is the final day. This is what you learn in the final day. There's a big build-up to get there. But if what Bianca and Matthew Russell could do with just creative visualization, imagine what happens when you go into merging. Now, this tool was given to me in a really bizarre situation itself. I was with scientists going into altered states using neurotraining. I'd gone into what is called the delta frequency, and I felt this thing communicate with me. It was a form of channeling, really. And this protocol was given to me with the intention that I share it with people through my training. And this is where merging came from. Again, if it sounds fascinating to you, stay tuned. I'll show you how to go deep into that. Now, I enjoy getting this out there because of letters like this. This is from Priya Raganuta. So Priya was one of the people who did the Be Extraordinary program, and she was able to help raise funds to feed 500 plus medical professionals and COVID responders in her area. This letter from Rebecca Factor, who's a songwriter, she said, since this cause, I've begun to truly feel the spirit, a profound sense of love on a nearly daily basis. And that's one of the things that happens when you start going deeper into this. You feel love for all life on a daily basis because you feel supported by life, by spirit. So let's do a quick recap. We have covered number 1, avoiding the dangers of the SMART model. We have covered number 2, understanding the 7 principles. We're now going to go into number 3, the 3 levels of mastery. So how do you get to mastery? That's level 3. Okay. Now we will go into level 3 really quickly because we are running out of time. The first one is iconic status. This is where you get to a level where you are Audrey Hepburn. You are the next Elon Musk. There is a thinking framework to become an icon in your field, and it goes through level 1, 2, 3. Visionary is where you are producing things that other people don't see. They are outside the realm of what humanity knows to be true. New inventions, new ideas come from visionaries. This is where you are basically inventing new ways of being. Third is surrender. Bruce Lee famously said, sometimes the point of a goal is not to hit the goal. It is to give you forward momentum. Surrender is when you get the goal, you get the vision, and you dance towards it. You don't walk, you don't run, you dance towards it, knowing that even if you don't get there, that dance is freaking joyful. Number 4 is resonance. This is when you become that which you once sought to be. This is a beautiful flip of mind. It's not easy to comprehend. You basically become the billionaire before you attract the $1 billion. You become the best-selling writer before you get the book offer. This is a really, really, really powerful idea. And So I want to bring in Matthew McConaughey as an example here, right? I interviewed Matthew McConaughey recently for his new book, Green Light. And he talks about this without using the word resonance. He talks about how when he went to Hollywood and he slept on a friend's couch and he said, can you help me get some auditions? And the friend said, fuck you, kid. In Hollywood, they smell want. They smell vulnerability. His friend said, go to Europe, have a great time, spend your summer in Europe, get it all out of your mind, then come back like you're the big frickin' king and walk in expecting a job. And that's how Matthew literally ended up becoming one of the biggest superstars in the world today. He walked into an audition and he was meant to have a minor role, but he told the director, have you found the lead yet? And the director was actually thinking about Woody Harrelson. Matthew convinced the director to give him the lead. It was in the movie A Time to Kill. And in 1996, he became a superstar from being a relative unknown. That is resonance. You already know who you are. Matthew, from this beginning, knew he was a star. Now, the next is inspired action. When you go into resonance, what happens next is that you start getting the inspiration on what to do. When I was talking to Matthew, he spoke a lot about how he would simply get this inspired sparks, this inspiration on what to do. That comes from resonance. Then there is channeling. Channeling is beyond inspired action. Channeling is where you can be put on the spot to talk about something and the most profound wisdom comes through you. You are channeling. Channeling is when Neil Donald Walsh wrote a best-selling book, feeling that his hand was moving on its own. And that book, Conversations with God, sat in the New York Times bestsellers list for 5 years. That is channeling. All of us can do it. Elon Musk had a dream which helped him solve one of the equations necessary to create SpaceX, his rocket company. That is a form of channeling. And finally, there's merging, which I spoke about. Now, all of this go into a flow. First, you want to move towards icon status, become visionary, move to surrender, go into resonance. This generates inspired action, which generates channeling, which allows you to merge. This is level 3. I'm not saying it's easy. What I do in my program is I teach you the direct parts to get there, and then it's practice, practice, practice. It's like a muscle. But eventually, you don't just hit one goal. Goal and hitting your goals, and magic becomes the default part of your life. Now, for those of you who want to go further, who want to go into the depths of everything I teach, I want to invite you to check out the Be Extraordinary program. Now, the program is available on every platform, your Android phone, your smartphone, Apple TV, your laptop, and I want to just play a little video that shows you what it looks like. So you can see here in this video how beautiful things are put together. You join a class. So I like my students to start in groups together. We call these classrooms, and the students get to interact with each other. Now, before the program starts, it starts on a specific date. We all start together. It always starts on a Monday. You can go through preparation content. There's a lot of bonus preparation content, and that's what the production quality looks like. You can see that every video is just 20 minutes. Why 20? Because I layer on beliefs, habits, patterns, 20 minutes a day for 30 days. This is not something you just jump into. 20 minutes a day for 30 days, and you emerge completely transformed. Okay, there are exercises for the day, there's joining the tribe, but ultimately 20 minutes a day for 30 days is all you need. Now, there is a rich, robust community. This program has had about 1 million students either watching this masterclass or enrolling. When you go to our online community, you'll see close to 6,000 posts from tens of thousands of students. And these students, you can reach out to people share their goals, they share their visions, they share their strategies. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful community. And it's such incredibly quality people. Now, you can also watch this on Apple TV. The Apple TV tool is beautifully put together. And you can jump to any part of the program and just binge watch it like you watch a Netflix show. So if you don't want to go through all 30 days, and if you happen to have Apple TV, you can watch it in one weekend. Now, to enroll in the program, all you got to do is scroll down below, and you'll see that just below this masterclass video, all the information is there, including the enrollment information. And as a special thank you for spending this last hour plus with me in this masterclass, you get a special discount. Don't close this page. That discount is activated from you coming at this point in the masterclass, and you can directly enroll in the program. And by the way, you don't even have to make up your mind right now. You can test this out. Let me tell you how in a moment. Now, the program comes with special bonuses. As you know, we're about to kick off the biggest class of the year in the Be Extraordinary program. We want to incentivize a ton of people to join this class. So our last class for our last program had 10,000 people join. And there is so much dynamism in the tribe and in the community when everyone is going through a 30-day transformation together. So we incentivize people for joining the upcoming class. Now, these are a couple of things. First, you're going to get a bonus 7-day program. So before you start Be Extraordinary, the class kicks off on Monday. But let's say you join on Friday. What do you do on Saturday and Sunday? Well, we're going to give you this 7-part program. You can do it in 7 days. You can do it just on a Saturday. It's called Consciousness Engineering. And this program teaches you how to learn, how to take everything you're learning in personal growth and directly apply it in your being. It tells you how to take on new beliefs, how to take on new habits. And it's so important that you do this before you do Be Extraordinary, because it'll make you a super learner before I take you into the Be Extraordinary program. Now, the second thing is you're going to learn the 6-phase meditation. Remember the story I shared of Tony Gonzalez and Miguel, and these sport stars, these pop stars, and this meditation I invented that they are doing? That's the 6th phase. I'll give that to you as well. So in addition to Be Extraordinary, if you're a meditator, we're going to show you how to fine-tune your meditation using the 6-phase technique so that you start manifesting and attracting your wildest dreams. Now, this is the biggest bonus. On February 20th, we're going to conduct a live event of this seminar on Zoom. There's space for about 5,000 people. And please know that even 5,000 sounds like a big number, but we always fill up. And if you order now, not only do you get the quest, which is going to be in the Mindvalley platform, but we'll give you a free ticket to the seminar. So you can still go to the program, but you can go through this immersive 5-hour seminar with one of our top guided instructors to install in you one of the core methodologies of the program. Now, we do this because we want to give you a running start. Okay, it's optional, but this is a bonus only available for people who enroll right now. So the Be Extraordinary Summit actually happens all around the world. It's in about 30 countries. Of course, the pandemic did put a bit of a damper on that, but that's our class from the Netherlands. And our instructor is Wasila. She's a former Dutch parliamentary member. She conducts our Dutch class, which is one of our most active communities. So there are actually communities for this program all around the world. And finally, the next bonus is live sessions with me. This is only happening for our class of the year, which is what you're about to enroll into. So there's going to be a kickoff class where I'm going to go deep and take you through the entire program and show you how everything connects. Then I'm going to come on live twice during the 30 days to answer your questions. And finally, when the program is over, we're going to have a special, crazy, epic, fun graduation ceremony where thousands of us are going to come together, celebrate, support each other, and hear about our biggest wins. Now let's come to why I mentioned earlier that you can test drive this program. You're protected. Mindvalley is so confident that we have the best programs in the world, that you can enroll in any program, go through it for 2 weeks, get your fingers wet and play with the program and see the improvement. And at any point, if you feel this isn't right for you, you can directly issue yourself a refund. And here's what I mean by that. Go to mindvalley.com/refund and it's one click. One click. You don't have to send an email. You don't have to pick up the phone. One click, your payment is sent back to you. Now, when you go into the program, you're also going to get a link to a welcome guide, which will explain, how to use the quest method, how to download the app to help you get started. You can see it's beautifully put together like everything we produce, so you should have no issues. You'll see 2 ways to enroll in the program. You can buy the individual program, and again, there's a discount, or you can get Mindvalley membership, and this is what most people do. Unless you're really bad at math, buying Mindvalley membership is what the majority of our students do. They get a membership to Mindvalley, they get Be Extraordinary, but they also get all our other programs, close to 50 programs and 31 new ones coming out in the next 18 months or so. all accessible to them. Because after you do Be Extraordinary, guys, you're going to want to go and master the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level. It is an incredible investment. It's a subscription, and it's $500 less than $500 a year. Now, on Mindvalley All Access, you have incredible access to all our programs. Literally everything is instantly unlocked for you. So you can even do, because each program is 20 minutes, you can even do several programs a day. Now, you also get an advantage of All Access is there is stuff you can share with your family. So you're enrolling in the Be Extraordinary program. Wouldn't it be great if there was a children's version of this program for your kids? So I created this because so many parents ask for it. It's 10 days and it's called Be Extraordinary for Teens. And those of you who enroll in membership will get this free. So if you have any kid, doesn't have to be a teen, a smart 10-year-old, for example, this program over 10 days will teach them how to supercharge their movement towards a life of their dreams. And parents are saying that this program is some of the most valuable education their kids are getting. In addition to that, if you're a member, look at our entire entrepreneurship gallery. It has so many incredible programs that you can jump into. We just developed, for example, one of the world's top leadership programs, networking programs. We have a new program by Miki Agrawal, who's this insane Canadian-American entrepreneur who's about to start her third $100 million company. And she teaches you how to become a rock star entrepreneur. All of this available for you. But the best part is this. When you join a membership community, you also get access to our private social network. It's on an app, and it is really cool. You can see members nearby in your city. So these are all members within 25 miles of me. You can make friends. You can jump into different networks. There are live calls happening all the time. And so what you're looking at here is people posting in the Canadians United network. We have a network for almost every country. Remember I told you Matthew McConaughey, that was the live call. So people actually got to come on live with me and Matthew and participate in the conversation. These are all the guest speakers, Gretchen Rubin, they all come and talk to our members. You click RSVP and it's a live Zoom event with the speaker there. There's the Be Extraordinary seminar I mentioned, and everyone completes a profile, and then the app, we're now developing a human matching engine where the app matches you to potential friends in your city, potential people you can work with, potential collaborators. So we're not just helping you get to your goals, we're helping you find the right allies to move you towards your goals. No other goal setting program does that. But this app is only for members. So I cannot wait to see you in the program. Thank you so much for joining me and for putting in this time. And I know we covered a lot, but I hope that you got a lot out of this masterclass, and I cannot wait to see you in the Be Extraordinary program by Mindvalley.